Hey guys. Welcome to Secrets Behind the Stars. All the details are in our video. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and share our video before continuing. Thank you so much. Actress Elsen Sangu, who has been deliberately quiet in the face of constant whispers about her private world, has just shaken the entertainment circle with a confession that no one saw coming. After years of guarding her heart, the luminous star startled those closest to her with a surge of honesty that felt raw and immediate, as if she had been carrying the words for ages and they finally broke free. For the first time in years, she opened the door to a story many fans thought was closed for good, and she spoke about the name that instantly turns every room silent, Baris Arduk. They were the pair viewers couldn't forget, the duo whose chemistry seemed to spill past the screen and ripple through real life. Time and distance blurred that heat into nostalgia, and then nostalgia hardened into silence. But that silence has now cracked. With her voice steady but her emotions vivid, Elsen finally let herself say what she had not dared to admit in public: time has reshaped everything. She confided that experience has a way of teaching lessons you never signed up for, that absence can etch a person deeper into your mind than presence ever did, and that letting go did not erase what mattered. Then came the line that detonated across fan circles and news feeds: "I want Baris back in my life." The words weren't shouted, they were breathed, and that made them even louder. Within hours, the mood online swung from stunned to electric. Those who had followed their journey from the early days whispered about fate and unfinished chapters, while others argued that stepping backward might be a painful gamble. Regardless of which side people chose, the entire conversation revolved around a single question: was this brave admission the preface to a reunion, or the last page of a private diary finally read aloud? Elsen's closest friends, who have quietly witnessed her long internal tug-of-war, say this wasn't a whim. It was the moment she stopped negotiating with her fear. One confidant sketched her change in a single line: she's done prioritizing the image over the truth, she's ready to listen to her heartbeat instead of the noise. That heartbeat, they insist, has always kept one rhythm in the background, the rhythm of a connection that never found a proper ending. She believes there's still a conversation that never finished, one friend admitted. Elsen is not afraid of taking a step back if it means stepping honestly. Her inner circle claims she has learned to accept that vulnerability isn't weakness, it's the proof you cared enough to risk being hurt. And with that acceptance, she finally let herself say Baris's name without armoring it in irony or denial. Meanwhile, the gaze of the industry has tilted toward him. Baris Arduk, the face everyone searches for in the crowd, has chosen silence so far, and that silence has become its own narrative. Is it the careful calm that comes right before the thunder, or is it the kind of quiet that seals the past? Those who have crossed paths with him recently say that if he was surprised, he did not show it. Others hint at the opposite, that surprise flickered across his expression like an unexpected spotlight. Nobody truly knows. But everyone agrees. One message, one glance, one unscheduled sighting could flip this story into a different genre overnight. Behind the curtain, another rumor has started to gather momentum. It's the kind of whisper that spreads from production meetings to casting agents to fan groups in a heartbeat, a project that might, just might, bring them into the same frame again. Is it tentative? Yes. Is it wishful thinking? Perhaps. But insiders swear there has been talk, and if talks turn into signatures, the emotional stakes will be impossible to hide. Professional alignment can be the safest disguise for a reunion, or the most dangerous place to test unresolved feelings. Either way, the possibility is enough to keep an entire fandom sleepless. The confession also reveals another face of Elsen, the one beyond the camera, stripped of scripted composure. For years, she's been the emblem of independence on screen, the kind of woman who walks away with grace and never looks back. But life is not a scene you can cut and redo. Those who spend long days with her say the past months have carried a quiet turbulence. On set, she was sometimes present but not fully anchored, moving through scenes with flawless professionalism while her gaze wandered in the pauses, as if tracking a memory airing just off stage. "I think her heart parked somewhere and didn't return with the rest of her," murmured a co-star after a late-night shoot. She handled everything, but there was a part of her that seemed to be listening for a door to open. Fans divide along a line that feels familiar. One camp believes that love that once sparked at that intensity deserves a second trial by fire. They remember how a glance between them could pass as dialogue, how a smile seemed to carry its own story arc. They argue that if anything can endure, it's a bond that has lived both as fiction and as something that outlived the script. The other camp is cautious. They warn about the weight of history, about how even the warmest nostalgia can mislead you, about how re-entering a maze might take you back to the same dead ends. But even the cautious ones concede this much: if a reunion happens, it won't be lukewarm. It can't be. This explosion of interest has also ricocheted into her career identity. Viewers who admired her for her steel now see the softness underneath, and that duality only makes her more compelling. She is not just the heroine who conquers, she is the woman who admits that conquering your fear sometimes means declaring that you miss someone. The pivot humanizes her, deepens her bond with those who have grown up watching her work, and sets her up for roles where emotional nuance is not decoration but the story itself. In a business that often confuses armor with strength, she has chosen to show the beating heart inside the armor. And yet everything keeps circling back to him. If Barry speaks, the echo will rewrite the tone of this narrative in seconds. Some insiders believe he has already been processing what those words mean, that he understands this is not a publicity trick, not an empty monologue. Others argue he is weighing the past with a level head, deciding whether reopening an old door is courage or self-sabotage. The truth might sit somewhere in the middle, the place where grown-up love evaluates risk and reward and understands that both are unavoidable. Until he breaks his silence, every choice he makes, where he is photographed, what script he reads, who he follows and unfollows, becomes a breadcrumb for people hungry to see which path he'll take. Social platforms lit up as if someone had flipped a switch. Trend lines spiked, timelines flooded, and comments poured in from those who had archived their hopes and from those who never packed them away. Some posts became little love letters to what once was, recapping the scenes that made a generation believe in the danger and glory of a first look. Others were more measured, asking whether maturity might birth a different kind of love, quieter, steadier, more attuned to what really matters. The word that kept returning like a tide was the one Elsen had gifted everyone: back. Not forward, not sideways, back. Back to the person who once felt like home, back to a story that didn't finish writing itself. Those who know her privately describe the confession as a culmination rather than a spark. They say she has been walking through a long corridor of reflection, passing doors labeled with the roles she's played, the choices she's made, the moments she regrets and the ones she treasures. The door she hesitated in front of the longest, the one with his name carved into it, finally turned beneath her hand. And when it opened, the relief appeared on her face like light in a dark room. According to a family member, this wasn't about winning a headline. It was about finally aligning her public words with the whispers she only told herself at night. If the rumored project materializes, it will be impossible to watch it as just another job. Every close-up will be a test, every pause a conversation, every scene a confession disguised as fiction. But if it doesn't happen, the world will still be waiting for a different kind of scene. A meeting that wasn't scheduled by a call sheet, a moment that happens because two people decided the story deserved at least one more honest conversation. People close to both insist that an encounter soon is not only possible, it's likely. A neutral place, minimal entourage, no cameras, only whatever truth shows up when they sit across from each other with no script between them. All the while, her sentence keeps reverberating, refusing to fade like a line from a show that ended but never truly left the culture. I want Baris back in my life. It sounds like a plea, but if you listen carefully, it's also a promise she's making to herself, to stop pretending that wanting is the same as weakness. Wanting is a direction. Wanting is the map. Whether that map leads to him or back to herself, she has chosen to read it out loud. Tabloids now orbit around the story as if it were a sun, measuring each tiny movement for meaning. A stylist's post, an assistant's silence, a rearranged calendar, everything becomes fodder for interpretation. But beyond the noise, there's a simple truth people recognize: even those who live in the brightest spotlight carry shadows that only a few can see. And for all the glamour of premieres and interviews, it is still the private declarations that cost the most to make and, when made, feel like a miracle to witness. There's a sense that this moment will mark her work in ways we can't yet quantify. Directors who have always admired her technique now talk about the vulnerability she allowed to surface, about how an artist changes when the heart stops hiding. You can see it in the still photographs, in the unedited expressions that slip through in between takes, in the way she holds a stare and lets it tell a story. Her fans read that story instinctively because they've been writing versions of it in their minds for years, the version where the two of them find their way back, the version where they don't but still find peace, the version where the past and present shake hands without pretending to be the same thing. As for Baris, the silent center of this storm, those nearby insist he isn't dismissing any of it. One colleague mentioned that he has been thoughtful lately, spending more time listening than speaking, weighing how much of what they once had was timing, youth, and chaos, and how much was the kind of connection that endures. People who care about him want him to choose without pressure, to see the confession as a gift rather than a demand. Because beneath the roar of public fascination there lives a quiet wish, that whatever comes next, it is chosen freely. Of course, nothing fuels speculation like the chance of seeing them share a frame again. The moment a casting rumor popped, the internet surged with edits, throwback scenes, and imagined scripts. Viewers remembered how a glance could shift the gravity of a room. They remembered breath catching on the hinge of a smile. Whether nostalgia clouds judgment or clarifies it is a debate for another day. What's undeniable is that their shared presence activates something people want to believe about love, that some bonds are elastic, stretched across time but not snapped. If this arc ends with a reunion, it will not be a repeat of yesterday. They have been weathered by different roles, different risks, different rooms full of strangers. If they sit down together, they won't be the people who first met under bright set lights. They'll be the people who learn to carry their own light. And if the arc ends with a farewell delivered kindly and finally, then at least they will have replaced silence with clarity, which is a form of love too. But until the curtain rises on whatever scene is next, anticipation hovers like a pause before the line that changes everything. So the city waits. The industry waits. Their fans hold their breath at odd hours, checking phones like turning pages. And the sentence that started the storm keeps drifting through the air as if it were a song that never quite ends. I want Baris back in my life. Maybe it's the bravest thing she has ever said. Maybe it's simply true. Either way, she has stopped hiding from it, and now the world is watching to see whether that truth will be answered. This brings us to the end of our video. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe to Secrets Behind the Stars and share it. Goodbye.